The brutal rise and fall of Queen Jezebel, Part 1. The opening, planting the seeds of mystery. Welcome, seekers of ancient truths, to Bible by Candlelight. Tonight, as the shadows dance and the flickering flame illuminates the dust of ages, we turn our gaze to a figure etched in both infamy and intrigue, Queen Jezebel. Her name alone conjures images of power, manipulation, and unbridled defiance. But beyond the whispered condemnations, who was this woman? Was she merely a villain in a patriarchal narrative, or a force of nature caught in the tempest of clashing cultures and competing divinities? We promise you a journey into the heart of an ancient kingdom, a descent into the brutal realities of power, and an unearthing of the theological echoes that reverberate from her story even to this day. Prepare to confront the rise and the truly brutal fall of one of the Bible's most enigmatic and feared queens. Part 2. The Body. A journey of deep discovery. A. The historical and cultural context. A foreign queen in a fractured land. To understand Jezebel, we must first understand the tumultuous world into which she arrived. The northern kingdom of Israel, established after the schism from Judah, was perpetually teetering on the brink of idolatry. Its kings, seeking political alliances and economic stability, often embraced foreign deities, much to the chagrin of the prophets of Yahweh. Enter Ahab, the seventh king of Israel, described in 1 Kings 16:30 as doing more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. The greatest transgression, in the eyes of the biblical authors, was his marriage to Jezebel, the daughter of Baal, king of the Sidonians. Sidon, a powerful Phoenician city-state, worshipped Baal and Asherah, deities associated with fertility, storm, and war. Jezebel was not merely a foreign princess. She was a devout priestess and ardent proponent of her native religion. Her arrival in Samaria was not a quiet integration, but a bold assertion of Phoenician culture and religious practice within the very heart of Israel. This was more than just a clash of personal beliefs. It was a geopolitical and theological showdown. The prophets of Yahweh viewed this union as a direct affront to the covenant with God, a dangerous syncretism that threatened to extinguish the worship of the one true God in Israel entirely. B. Decoding the scripture, prophecy, power, and persecution. The biblical narrative, primarily found in 1 Kings and 2 Kings, paints Jezebel with broad, dramatic strokes. Her story unfolds as a relentless campaign against the prophets of Yahweh. 1 Kings 18:4 chillingly states that Jezebel had cut off the Lord's prophets, indicating a systematic and brutal persecution. She actively supported hundreds of Baal and Asherah prophets, funding them from the royal treasury. 1 Kings 18:19. Her influence over Ahab was profound, leading him to build a temple for Baal in Samaria, 1 Kings 16:32, and even an Asherah pole, 1 Kings 16:33. This wasn't passive acceptance. It was active promotion and enforcement of her pagan faith. The iconic confrontation between Elijah and the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, 1 Kings 18, stands as a monumental struggle against Jezebel's religious agenda. After Elijah's dramatic victory and the subsequent slaughter of Baal's prophets, Jezebel's reaction is swift and furious. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." 1 Kings 19:2. This reveals her unyielding will and personal investment in her deities. She saw Elijah not just as a prophet, but as a direct enemy to her power and her gods. Perhaps the most infamous episode illustrating her ruthlessness is the story of Naboth's vineyard, 1 Kings 21. When Naboth refused to sell his ancestral land to King Ahab, Jezebel engineered a malicious plot. She wrote letters in Ahab's name, sealed them with his signet ring, and arranged for false witnesses to accuse Naboth of blasphemy. Naboth was then stoned to death, and Ahab seized his vineyard. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite. "Go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, who rules in Samaria. He is now in Naboth's vineyard, where he has gone to take possession of it." 1 Kings 21:17, 1:8. This act solidifies her image as a manipulative, cold-blooded orchestrator of injustice, willing to subvert law and morality to satisfy royal desire. C. The hidden theological meaning, the battle for Israel's soul. Jezebel's story transcends a mere historical account of a wicked queen. The biblical authors use her narrative to explore profound theological themes. At its core, her saga is a stark depiction of the constant spiritual battle for Israel's allegiance. Jezebel embodies the seductive power of idolatry, the allure of pagan practices that promised fertility and prosperity, seemingly more tangible than the invisible Yahweh. Her story highlights the prophetic tradition's unwavering commitment to monotheism and the strict covenantal relationship between God and Israel. Her actions serve as a theological foil to the true nature of God. Where Yahweh demands justice, Jezebel orchestrates injustice. Where Yahweh calls for exclusive worship, Jezebel champions polytheism. Her persecution of the prophets underscores the high cost of remaining faithful in a hostile environment, while Elijah's stand on Carmel represents the divine power of Yahweh to overcome rival gods. The narrative suggests that Jezebel's influence wasn't just political. It was spiritual corruption threatening the very identity of Israel as God's chosen people. Her rise represents the rise of apostasy, and her eventual downfall, therefore, signifies judgment and the vindication of Yahweh's authority. D. Controversies and theories. Re-evaluating a reputation. While the biblical account is undeniably critical of Jezebel, some modern scholars and feminists offer alternative perspectives. They argue that the biblical narrative, written predominantly by male prophets, deeply invested in Yahweh worship, may present a biased portrayal of Jezebel. Was she truly evil, or was she simply a strong, politically astute queen defending her heritage and faith against an aggressive foreign religion, Yahwism? In her own cultural context, Jezebel's actions might have been seen as entirely appropriate for a queen defending her people's traditions and ensuring the stability of her kingdom through religious tolerance. From her perspective, the biblical text labels her a harlot, 2 Kings 9:22, a term that in ancient Near Eastern cultures could refer not only to sexual promiscuity, but also to spiritual infidelity or idolatry. Some theories suggest that Jezebel may have been a skilled stateswoman attempting to forge strong alliances with Phoenicia, using religious integration as a tool. However, the biblical text does not support this tolerant view, consistently portraying her as aggressively imposing her religion and brutally suppressing dissent. Nonetheless, these alternative readings invite us to consider the complexities of historical narratives and the role of the author's perspective. While the Bible clearly condemns her, acknowledging these controversies allows for a deeper, more nuanced engagement with her character and the historical forces at play. Part 3. The conclusion. The eternal echo. We have journeyed through the rise of a queen whose name became synonymous with wickedness, whose influence pushed a nation to the brink of spiritual oblivion. We witnessed her ruthless political maneuvering in the Naboth incident and her relentless persecution of the prophets of Yahweh, and we charted her eventual, brutally prophesied